Hi, everyone. My name is Adriana Gaviria. I'm the co-artistic director of the Soul Project and SolFest producer. This panel is Latiné Storytellers and Music for SolFest 2025. And I'm so excited to have both of these guests during this SolFest. And I'm going to have both of them introduce themselves. So I will pass it on to Isabel.
Hello, my name is Isabel Quintero, and I am an actor in Chicago. I'm based out of Chicago, and I am the writer and the performer for Osa Menor, which is actually also a CD, a Latin American CD. So that's me.
Awesome. Esteban.
Hi, nice to meet you, everybody. My name is Esteban Arévalo. I am originally from Colombia, and I am also in Chicago. I've been there for about 10 years. And we've been working for let's say a couple of years with Isabel as well in this project. I've been helping her with some of the writing and then the directing as well. It's been like a great roller coaster. Can't wait to talk about it.
Perfect. So you mentioned La Osa Menor. So let's hear about what is this project? How was this born? What was the inspiration for the project?
Sure. So La Osa Menor is a collection of my father's poetry. He wrote it when he was in his 20s, 1950s in Colombia. So what happened was we took his poems and made a CD out of it. The music is original from Gonzalo Cordova, who is a Mexican-born, Chicago-based artist, singer, guitarist. And we made the CD, which is on YouTube and streaming platforms and everything, and you can find it, right? And then I did that, and then it sat for a few years in the back of my closet. And one day Gonzalo was like, we worked really hard on that CD. Why don't you do something with it? So in 2019, Steppenwolf's Lookout series is where local artists can perform and kind of show any of their, it could be dance, it could be music, it could be theater, it could be performance art. And so I kind of did this concert, and they said, well, can you make it 90 minutes? And the CD is 45 minutes of music. So
wow.
I said, if I talk for 5 minutes in between each song, that's 90 minutes. And so that's what I did. And I kind of just talked about how we came about each song, because the songs are different, right? There's cumbia, there's ranchera, there's vallenato, there's samba, there's bolero, it's all different mix. There's rock. And then Esteban was at that performance.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Actually, I can complete the story a little bit on my end.
Oh, wonderful.
The first time I think I met you because we were collaborating. We were reading a play. I was directing a play, and our friend Debbie kind of like called us to work on it. That was the first time I met Isabel. And I remember feeling like she was like a great collaborator, very like open, like very fun to work with her. And I remember in one of our meetings or like a rehearsal, she mentioned the CD or I think you were working at translations at that point. That's the first mention of the La Osa Menor that I remember. And then cut to the Lookout series, which is when, I got to see it for the first time on the Lookout series with the music and like with the like translated poems and with stories. It was amazing. It blew my mind.
Did you ever think that it would go from an album to something?
From a manila envelope first, I think, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Because the poems, my father I didn't even know. I didn't know that he had all these poems until I was an adult. And one day, he pulled them out and he started reading. I was like, what is that? Qué bonito, right? And he's like, son mías. What? And that's kind of what I talk about now in the show, in this story that has kind of grown from a concert to then it became, because I've performed it twice now, so this will be the third time.
Okay.
So in 2023, I did it again at the Lookout series. I received a grant, and so part of that money I used to pay the musicians, and it's a lot of musicians. There's accordion, there's harp, there's guitar, there's flute, there's electric guitar. So there's a lot of musicians. And in 2023, Esteban helped with that, and also with helping me expand the writing and where to go.
Got it. So the first time that you worked on the writing, and especially because it's coming from like a personal, a personal experience, a personal story, was the writing difficult, or was it not such a challenge because you were only focusing on 5 minutes in between?
Exactly. And then I was like, well, what can I say about this song? Let me talk about the type of music we decided to use for it. Or what can I, or let me talk about the poem and how interesting it is. Or let me talk about something about Colombia, so there were like different things. And something very beautiful, Esteban, that you did was, you said, in that concert, it was like there was like this museum, and you gave us a little peek into all these little windows, and now you can go into each window and explore it. Or there was some analogy like that.
And Esteban, as a director, as you're watching, like, what were the things that excited you about it that maybe you were like, oh my God, I want to work on this?
Yes, like I went to that first performance, and it blew me away. As I said, like the fact that it felt very personal, very like connected to culture, and like I'm in my family, and I think in Colombia, I mean, and of course, like music is a very important thing. Like people listen to music, go to parties, dance, like it's so important. So like that really connected, and a lot of it, like the anecdotes, like there's like sometimes she would talk about like the origin of this dance comes from here, or people were like super excited because a lot of people had never heard about the origin of some of the genres that they've listened to a lot, right? So like it was kind of like an educational journey too for some people to interact with that culture for the first time, and then for some of us that knew, you could just get up and dance when they were playing the music, and like people would dance. It was this weird, it was like in between a recital and a concert, like, and that's what I loved. I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to kind of like push that idea further with the musicians for the second time around, and that's what we worked on the most.
And when you started talking about a possible collaboration, you always are like, it's a big question mark when you pick your collaborators, especially when it's a personal piece. Like, what were the conversations that you had? Did you talk about like, okay, how do you work? What are your goals? Like, did you have that conversation, or did you just jump in, or what happened?
We had many conversations, I think, right?
I mean, I feel like because we had worked together, I already liked him. I already said, he's a great director. This is a cool guy. And then you were so excited about La Osa Menor that I was like, who else would I like? I have to call this guy. This guy has to direct. Plus, he's Colombian. There were a few things, right? We did have a really good conversation, now that I think about it, at a Starbucks, right? On the patio, where we chatted about why and the reasons that you liked it, and there were a lot of personal connections there.
Yes, we shared a lot about, I think, like for the first, like we went on for a meeting, like let's talk, like on that famous Starbucks. And we ran out, like we were like, oh my God, I'm starving. Is it like lunchtime? It was like 2 p.m. or something. We had like like 9. It's one of those. And so like we started meeting like weekly to start like, and mostly we were just getting to know each other, kind of like, what are the things you like what are the, like, tell me about your family, tell me, like I will tell you about mine, like. And I think it was more like from that end, like it was very personal at first, and then we started, why don't we look at this and that, and then I started to see the theme more, and like we started exploring like some of those, like the stars and like destiny and fate, things like that, like connections. So I think like it was super, like it was exciting moment, and we spent I think like I'm gonna say a few months for sure, like working on the writing. And like exploring like what she was talking about, the windows earlier, like just feel like I think that was a big challenge, but I'm glad we did it. I think like sometimes as an actor, you can get anxious about like, how do I do this later? You know, like on the stage. But like Isabel was really good about taking that hat off and just being a playwright, and me too, just kind of like taking our hats off and just like writing and developing the ideas. And why don't you explore that story, that anecdote? Like, do you want this to be a scene, or do you want this to be a monologue, right? And it was great. I think we gel really well. Like the collaboration was very seamless. Like I think like really quickly we started working really well.
Yeah, and Esteban has been so instrumental in guiding like where the story goes, and being able to like get to the crux of it. You know, what's important here? How did you get from here to there? Oh, you know, because I know the story in my head. No one else does. So he was very good. What happened between here and here? What about that? So the questions and just the guiding of the whole piece. Completely instrumental. Yeah.
So when choosing an artistic collaborator, it just I imagine it helps so much as a writer when someone is really excited about the story and your project, and then someone who listens and also who has like great insight. Esteban, have you ever done like has part of your background ever been dramaturgy?
Well, I majored in Spanish, so yes, so like that was always literature and theater, especially, has always been kind of like an interest. So like I approach it from a very like theory point of view at first, but I've also been close to theater a long time. So like it was like oh my god, I lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry.
Well, because when you're doing, also because you're a writer and a performer, right? You sometimes need someone to ask you questions, right? Yeah. And like bring up the things that may not be clear, because like Isabel, like you said, it's all in your head. The story's here, but it may not be coming across.
Yes, thank you for helping me with getting back into the. Yeah, I mean, it was like, so I've always approached things from like a very like theory, and so like I've always like helping in dramaturgy as a like even in college, as I did my master's, I would always take like the dramaturgy classes. I write in a little bit, but like I mostly help people with their projects. That's what really excites me, is to kind of like help people tell their stories. And so this was a perfect example of that. Of like, it's very genuine and very deep. Like there was so much in there. So I was like, this is great. We have to tell this story. And it was more about like allowing Isabel to explore what she wanted to tell. And maybe she didn't know what she wanted at first. But she has amazing instincts. I will say that, like, she has very like, she writes a scene and like it's really good. Like she has a very like poetic way of writing sometimes, like that. It's great. And sometimes I'm just helping her with some of what she was saying earlier, like the story, like how do we go from here to here? Like, do you want to connect this with the end or here? Like, kind of like, I think we complement really well in that sense.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I agree. It was fun too, because the second time that I did it, we had more musicians, and Esteban kind of helped me also to guide the musicians, because we made them part of the show.
How many were in the first one, and then what did it grow to the second?
I mean, I think we added like 3 more musicians.
Wow. Yes. Okay.
And made them part of the show, because before they were just musicians, and I was, I would plus it was, talked 5 minutes. This was like, I'd go into a monologue or I would act something out, and then the musicians would help me
react to it. Yeah.
So it was, I say you helped a lot with just keeping them together, because there was so much going on. I'm doing the show, I'm singing. Sometimes, okay, like the guys don't know, the musicians don't know, had no idea what I was going to be doing. We just were able to rehearse like 4 hours or so, the music, right? So entrances and how they were going to finish. And then I didn't even know that some of the musicians were taking all these solos, and, so it was, sometimes I'd be like, okay, that's continuing. Okay. So it was also very improvised, but Esteban, in his cool, calm and collected way, was very helpful, and just like, okay, this is what's going to happen now we have to do this, and it's so great to have him kind of leading.
And as much as you work stuff in the room, then you add that element of the audience, right? So how did the audience, how did that help with what, how to, develop it more, what you learned, or how did you learn from like the audience reaction?
True.
Um,
And
Here, let me start with that because I have
Yeah.
an anecdote about that.
Okay.
Like Isabel, like she had two performances. That first time, the second time when I joined, and I remember like the first night. I think like like it was, as you can tell, probably a lot of elements were like new, getting in place. So it was a little bit of nerves, right? But like the second time around, I think she was having a lot more fun, and they were people in the audience that were like they really the first night was more serious. Like that makes a huge difference, right? Because if you're in a concert, people can clap, they can move around, they can dance, like. But if you're in a recital, people maybe are too serious and they're just chuckling, and it was supposed to be kind of like a good time, like a get the best out of each world. Like this is a concert, have fun, dance, but also there's other like anecdotes and stories. And so she really the audience really helped her that second night. So we're laughing and like reacting and like yelling back, oh, you know it, things like that. And she like took that and like it gave her like a new level. So it was a really fun performance, honestly. Like it was like so huge impact.
Wow.
Was that the second? Like, because I always had friends in the audience, and friends are so helpful, right, to have in the audience, especially with a show like that, because it did seem it is very free, right? It's a concert and then a performance, but it's also a concert. So they were dancing, they'd laugh at things, especially if they know my family, or the story takes place in Colombia, it takes place in Chicago, it takes place in New York, and it takes place in Miami. So there are little I had a friend from Miami, and she was like, because
that's great.
Yeah. And so there's a little bit of everywhere that we've lived and I've lived. And yes, having people in the audience that know something about that city, they're like, right. And having a reaction is always fun as a performer.
And Esteban, you mentioned that was actually something that you loved about this project was the engagement of the audience.
Yes.
And I guess
people were like very moved. Like some people were like, oh, because there's like I mean, I don't want to like tell much about it, but like there is definitely like let's call it a lesson, a message, let's say. And so like people were like very moved by it. I think that was great. And so some people were like, oh my God, I had a great time, and very like, and they approached to say that, and like people were very vocal. And then some people were like, I had a blast, I was dancing. It was like, it kind of like welcomed all sorts of different experiences into one space.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if I may, one of the things that I love about this is that after the first performance, a gentleman who is retired came up to me and said, months after he saw the show, the first one, he said, you inspired me to take start doing photographs again.
Wow.
Yeah. And then he did, and he entered a contest, and he got to go to Budapest because he won the contest. And so he and his wife took a trip to Budapest, all because he's like, it's because I saw that show. And so there were quite a few people, even after the first one, after the second one as well, that are like, you've inspired me to look into this or to pick this project up again, because that is like one of the lessons, these poems were my father's, and it did something with them, right? So,
and a lot of us have something, I mean, whether it's, with family or our own, we want to tell a story. Sometimes we don't know how to tell it. Sometimes we have something like really cool that we find. And I do feel like there were some external forces and some like pushes that made you, explore that, like, oh, let's make an album, or, then you got this offer and you're like, oh, I guess I have to, do some writing. And then, and now this other opportunity, which you both told me about, because you both get to develop it a little bit more and expand it a little bit more, right? So how long is it from this one that's coming up, and then from the last time that you did it?
So I did it we did it in 2023, again at Seven Wolves Lookout Series, and we'll be doing it one performance. So it's at the Destinos Festival, Latino Theater Festival here in Chicago on October 26th. And what they asked, now it expanded so much in 2023. It was like 2.5 hours with an
Oh, wow.
It was a concert pretty much.
Yeah,
Wow.
but like music, so much music, and again, like the guys took solos, and I presented the band, and like each guy had a just there was a lot to it, and so I for this Dinos, I was like, well, we could do like a 90 minutes. They're like, can you do 60? And I was like, oh my goodness, to take it from what I did to so Esteban was like, it's a good exercise. So, let's do that. And so I've been editing, and again, he's been looking at it like, okay, what happened here? And what's this? And oh, you took that out. Maybe put that back in. I really like that, So that's what this performance is going to be. And it's more like a spotlight on local artists. Also local artists that don't necessarily have an artistic home. So I work with a lot of companies, but I've always kind of, just worked with a lot of different companies. So this is really important.
And both of you are local artists to Chicago. How long have both of you been in Chicago?
I've been here 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah, I was born in Chicago. Then I lived in Miami, and I worked in radio in Miami for about 10 years. And then I'm back here. So I've been here since 98. So, and just doing predominantly theater.
So, something that I noticed, which, and I know we often mention it, like during the pandemic, there was a lot of artistic growth and development. I think it caused a lot of artists to just self-reflect, maybe on their own priorities or stories that they wanted to tell. So aside from that, I've also seen like a really forward momentum in like Latine musicals or stories with music. We're lucky that both of you are from the Chicago region. Can you speak a little bit to that? If you've seen a little bit of growth in that the last couple of years?
I mean, a lot of musicals that move to Broadway, they try them out here in Chicago. Like On Your Feet, the Gloria Estefan one, they tried it out here first, and then they took it to Broadway. I know there's a lot of them, right? The SpongeBob one, there's many. Musicals are so interesting because it's very recent, this whole thing of especially Latine people putting on musicals. I think we're finally kind of saying, hey, wait a minute, we have such great music. Why not? Right? So I think it's beautiful. I'm a white-haired performer, and I'm also seeing just so many young writers writing about their abuelas, which I love.
That's
that.
Amazing.
And so there's so many more. Emi Toruño, Iraisa and Riley, all writing about their abuelas, and it's awesome. But yeah, and there's a wonderful abuela part in On Your Feet. But that's important, because it's a whole family thing, and I love it. I love that.
Intergenerational family, those are big things for Latine folks. So it's good to see that, and also see as we age that there are roles for all
ages, yes,
all ages, which I do think it's really important. And I do think that we also bring our family a lot into our work and our stories, and we love to share that with them. Esteban, what were some of the challenges or some things that you learned, or maybe like a tip that you want to give to folks?
I mean, especially because this one was kind of like mixing things from like different worlds, right? Like, I mean, maybe at the beginning you think, will these things work together? But I mean, I think it worked really well, but like finding that balance, I think. So like, I think for us, it was very useful to know that like the why, right? Like the what we were talking about earlier about like the what is the story about, right? And I think that's always very important because then how much do we need the musicians? Even if we have, for example, in this version, we are not going to have any musicians, but so we're focusing mostly on the things that Isabel couldn't focus the first time around because she was music directing a little bit, performing, singing. It's just like so many things.
So many hats, yeah.
So now we can explore just the acting of it and the storytelling and see how it works together and with the music still. But that changes a little bit things, right? So like it allows us another opportunity to kind of like open another window and then maybe set the seeds for like plant the seeds for like something more with more characters, maybe. Like, I mean, we'll see what happens. But I think probably it feels that's where it's probably gonna go at some point. I think.
Yeah, that's
conversations.
What I would love, especially now talking about Latina musicals, is making this a full-blown musical, right? So the music is already there. It's like a reverse jukebox musical because nobody knows the music. Nobody knows the performer. Like no one's famous, right? But it's all there. The pieces are all there. So yeah. I would love to explore this as like a full musical and have the opportunity to work on how the music really, flows with the text and all of that.
I think just to finish that thought, because we had that like North Star, as we said sometimes, like we had like that like clear line, we were able to add or take or add elements as we needed for each version, each festival, each project. So like I think that helps too. And we can see how they interact and, oh, we like that, or this is not working, like, or what do we do with this, or like, do we like it? And so, but I think the foundation was really important. So like, I think that was the first, like, that was a big part of the writing at first. And I think we're revisiting some of that right now. So that has been very exciting to kind of like get to a place where we feel like this is a canvas now. And if we want to add musicians, full on cast, like, I think there's something there to put things on it. And
that's really wonderful because now you have different versions. So if you have a producer, if you have a theater or any other institution that may want to bring the project, you have this version that's 60 minutes. You have this one that if they want musicians, maybe it's like a music heavy thing, so it's actually really wonderful for a writer and a director to be able to explore these different versions, so then you have it, right?
Yes. We've even discussed like educational applications because I'm a Spanish teacher too, so I was telling Isabel sometimes, like, I think like you found a version that can be like, and if you add some of those origin of the genres, for example, that we had already added in the first part, like the second version, you already have something that they would get super into. And so like there's like a lot of potential or like for a festival, right? Like one actor and music recorded, or maybe one performer. So like that gives a lot of flexibility to have to go to places and share it.
And I know we mentioned this before, but I do want to repeat it again. What would be your dream takeaway for the audience? Like, what would you want an audience member to go away with? Like, I love that you said that you brought up that example of that gentleman who was inspired to creatively express himself and explore that in a different way of storytelling. But what are your dream takeaways for an audience member?
Yeah, for me, I think it's that there's within yourself or your own family, there's always like treasures that you don't realize, that you have to dig a little bit, but they're there. I think every family has them. Every person has them. And, sometimes you look at an uncle or an abuelita, and you're like, you don't know much except that version of them that you met at whatever age, but they had a life. They've had a whole life before you. And it's amazing once you start to really talk to your family members or a friend or a neighbor, right? and you're like, oh my gosh, they're so interesting. So I think that's it, that people dig a little bit more and they'll find treasures in everyone around them.
Yeah. For me, I mean, it's been amazing to kind of like, as we got to know each other with Isabel, we got to share our stories too. So like, it's kind of like our own stories have kind of like connected now, and they're connecting with all of these people that come to like that share on the stories now. And so like, I think that that is something that sometimes is hard to like navigate life. And right now we're very divided in the world. So like the navigating things together as a community is important. So like arts and like talking, collaborating is so important. So like we found a lot of parallels. So like there's a theme of constellations, so of like stars that look isolated but they're connected. We give them meaning, we connect them, we put them together. So like kind of like becoming part of a bigger constellation as well as I joined the project. So like I think that's my biggest takeaway, and I cannot wait for people to do the same, to join in.
Is there you can't wait for people to join in that journey with you both?
Yes, to be part of the constellation.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Is there, out of curiosity, because you have the project in October and then you have this other possible expansion, inspiration for the project, is there another type of collaborator that you would love to bring into this constellation, that you think would be helpful?
I know a projector design, for example, like we had a lot of photographs, like it's like autobiographical and like the translation. So like adding like an artistic element to that on my end, I think that would be super good for us.
Absolutely. You're right. Because in my head, there were, I have something in my head but there's no way. I don't know how to even make that happen. But many people have been like, oh, I wish I could see more, like a picture or pictures of that, or there's translations of the poems so that people know the words and understand the poems more. And so, yeah, there's a lot of absolutely projections.
I love that. So we can just like put that out into the universe and see what comes. And if anyone is watching, they'd be like, reach out. It's me. Yes. Can you tell us again where we can watch the show in October for the one performance, right?
Mm-hmm. One performance. It's during the Destinos Latino Theater Festival in Chicago, which starts next month. Mm-hmm. In October and goes through November. And so there will be many local artists and artists from out of town, and many Latine theaters from the city performing, and then solo performers like me performing that week during the Spotlight Week.
And if people want to visit your website where they can learn more about the project and all the information about it, it's
La Osa Menor album.com, because La Osa Menor is a constellation. So you have to add album on there.
Nice.
Oh, that's perfect. Well, thank you both so much. Do you both have any final thoughts before we say goodbye to folks watching?
Wow. Final thoughts. Just keep looking for treasures in people. There's always beautiful things to be found in all of us.
Yes, like seize opportunities. I think this play is about that too, and like to connect with others and learn about their stories, because you learn and you can use them for yourself, in this, like they can guide you.
That's beautiful. Thank you both so much for taking the time and for sharing your experience with this project. I'm so excited that both of you are having this opportunity to show it again in October. And I'm sure that more exciting things are coming your way for this, and that you both found each other, because sometimes it's really hard to find a creative partner that you connect with. So that's really wonderful.
You're right. Thank you.
Yay, awesome. Thank you. So let's thank you for everyone watching. And I hope that you come to see more events at the Puerto Rican Traveling Theater in Midtown in New York. And then just keep on looking at stuff on our website, soulproject.org, for all the events happening during SolFest 2025. Bye.
Bye.